Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk about a super hardcore topic, the underlying logic of the United States. Since Trump came to power, his policies have bewildered the whole world. From pushing globalization to loudly proclaiming America first, from being inseparable with allies to suddenly turning hostile, what's really going on? Is Trump just acting impulsively, or is there a deeper reason behind it? Today let's peel back layer by layer the core of America and see how it really operates. If you're interested in history, politics, or international relations, don't forget to hit like. Let's begin. Trump's policies can be said to have completely flipped America's script. For decades, the United States had been the global leader of globalization, promoting free trade and international cooperation, maintaining rock-solid relationships with allies like Europe and Japan. But when Trump took office, the tone changed dramatically, loudly proclaiming America first, withdrawing from various international agreements, and even becoming cold toward European allies. This February, magazine dropped a bombshell headline: "Europe has become America's enemy." The article also mentioned that during the Munich Security Conference, the U.S. Vice President's speech was filled with confrontational tones, leaving European countries stunned. Many people see this and immediately think, this must be Trump's personal style. After all, he can tweet dozens of times a day saying whatever comes to mind. But if you only focus on Trump as an individual, you're just scratching the surface. His policies and actions are actually manifestations of America's national underlying logic. Like a marionette, Trump may appear to be the one pulling the strings, but behind the scenes, it's the spiritual core formed over centuries of American history that's really controlling things. To understand this core, we have to start from America's origins. To grasp America's underlying logic, we must go back to the 17th century and look at a key figure, John Winthrop. He was the de facto leader of the Massachusetts Bay Company and a zealous Puritan. At that time, the British government was hostile toward Puritans. Winthrop was stripped of his official positions and faced religious persecution. In anger, he decided to lead a group of Puritan brethren across the ocean to North America, completely breaking away from the corrupt, decaying England. This wasn't a simple migration, it was a mass movement driven by religious mission. On the ship, Winthrop delivered a famous sermon titled, where he mentioned the idea of a city upon a hill. He told everyone that they were to build a holy, pure new home in North America, shining brightly like a city on a hill for the whole world to see. This phrase later became synonymous with the American spirit. Every president from Reagan to Obama has quoted it. Once in North America, Winthrop transformed the Massachusetts Bay Company from a commercial entity into a Puritan-led civic government, completely severing ties with Europe. All decision-makers and voters were Puritans. This model was later emulated by other North American colonies and became the blueprint of American politics. You could say the birth of America was the result of a Puritan hostility and break from Europe. This is the starting point of the American spirit, fervent Puritanism, and intense separatism. Without this runaway from home determination, the United States would never have come into existence. America's underlying logic shows itself in two main forms. On the surface, they look completely opposite, but their core is the same Puritan fanaticism, first form Puritan-style isolationism. In America's early days, isolationism was mainstream. In his 1796 farewell address, George Washington repeatedly warned Americans not to form political alliances with foreign powers. Business dealings were acceptable, but politically they must keep their distance. The subtext was clear. Europe is the sinful old world and America must keep to itself to avoid being dragged into trouble. This mindset directly stems from the Puritan separatist gene. We're the city upon a hill, fundamentally different from you worldly people. Second form, crusader-like zeal for conquest. By the mid-19th century, America began to change. After the Civil War, the industrial North rose, transforming America from an agricultural country into an industrial power with a strong navy. At this point, isolationism loosened. Americans felt they not only needed to keep to themselves, but also to remodel the world. For example, in the 1898 Spanish-American War, the U.S. directly seized Spain's colonies. In World Wars I and II, America jumped onto the global stage, intervening in European affairs and reshaping the world order. This crusader zeal outwardly looks like expansionism, but is actually a continuation of Puritan fanaticism. They believe American systems and values are the divinely chosen template for all humanity, and must be spread worldwide. These two forms, isolationism and interventionism, are like two ends of a scale. U.S. foreign policy constantly swings between them. When does it pull back? When does it surge forward? It all depends on American national interests. For example, during the Cold War, America pushed globalization to counter the Soviet Union. Under Trump, feeling globalization was a loss, America immediately turned isolationist. The underlying core behind it all is always that Puritan fervor. By this point, you might be wondering, Americans keep switching between isolationism and interventionism. Aren't they tired of this back and forth? The answer is, they're not tired, they actually enjoy it. Why? Because the cultural DNA of Americans is fanaticism. Historian Paul Johnson wrote in that the best and most extreme among Americans are fanatical, uncompromising, arrogant, and energetic individuals. They inherited from their Puritan ancestors a fierce drive to achieve great things at all costs. This fanaticism can be both constructive and dangerous. Over the past few decades, we've seen the U.S. use this energy to drive the technological revolution and the moon landing programs. But in the coming decades, this same fanaticism could also bring destruction, such as diplomatic confrontations or even conflicts. Trump is a typical representative of this fanaticism. His policies are bold and executed with vigor, driven by a "I'm here to change the world" mentality. Whether you support or oppose him, you have to admit he embodies the quintessential American, perfectly reflecting the underlying logic of this country. Finally, let's discuss why the Chinese community often misunderstands the U.S. and Trump. Simply put, the personalities of Americans and Chinese are almost polar opposites. Americans are fanatical Puritans, pursuing extremes, daring to take risks, sometimes even recklessly. By contrast, Chinese are more like steady Confucian followers, valuing moderation, stability, and gradual progress. These two personalities are naturally at odds. For example, many Chinese view Trump as unpredictable and unreliable, unable to make sense of his shifting policies. But if you understand the deeper logic of the U.S., you'll see that Trump's madness is actually part of American culture. Because the Chinese community doesn't grasp this, they often misjudge U.S. policies. For instance, many assumed the U.S. would continue to promote globalization, only for Trump's presidency to turn that assumption on its head. Or they thought the U.S. would remain closely aligned with Europe, yet now it's unwilling to even spare its allies. These misjudgments add up, potentially causing Chinese-speaking countries to lose out in international power struggles. In summary, the underlying logic of the U.S. is fanatical Puritanism, manifesting in hostility and separation from the old world, as well as ambition to conquer the globe. Trump's policies are just the latest expression of this logic. No matter how American foreign policy changes, it can never escape this original intention. As observers, we don't necessarily have to like America, but understanding its underlying logic helps us better grasp the country's motives and respond more effectively to its shifts. That's all for today. Is America's underlying logic more complex than you imagined? Does Trump's policy now have a new explanation? Do you think America's future will be more isolationist or expansionist? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.